Hello friends, welcome back to another episode. Today, as you can see, is all about frogs, specifically getting some of those sweet frog lights. That means we'll be visiting the Nether. Now, as you may already know, breeding all three frog colours is a little bit of a mission. I've bred these warm ones right here, the temperate ones at one of my safe shacks in a nearby river biome, and the cold ones I travelled to a snowy plains about 2,500 blocks away. I will need a few more of the green ones, but these frogs here are all ready to go to the Nether. First, we'll do a brief tour of the base, as I've been busy working on a bunch of things. Really just having fun playing Minecraft. I have got a copper gollum sorting system, which is fantastic. This was based on a design I saw Xisuma did for Joe Hills. Can put a bunch of items in the chest here. Now these are just filtering down into a hopper chain and spat out by a dropper, taken up by the water stream to the copper chest, which is the beginning of the sorting chain. Here all the items will pass across each golem and snake their way down to the very last chest, which will be everything that they can't find a spot for, or I haven't put an item in for. This hopper chain takes it back to the front of the storage area, and into this barrel here where I can then find a spot for it. Alright, let's circle back through this way. All of this is interconnected. Up here I did tuck in a little sugarcane farm. And here we connect back to the sorting area. I put in a railway to the bottom of the mine where I have all that storage. We'll go for a ride at some point, but I've been stacking all my stuff here, which I'll send down to the mine eventually. I'm still working out what I'm going to keep in my chests up here. Now back through here, I have built some pools and waterfalls. I plan on putting a bunch of villagers in here to occupy the area, which I think will really bring it to life. Over here is the mine, and yeah, I do have 4 skeleton horses. I'll use them for something later on, but I still need to find a spot for them. Over here is a special fountain. You might be able to tell what it really is. There's a switch over here. It is in fact a moss and bone meal farm. I'll link a video in the description of the design this is based on. I did make a few modifications, namely I added an item sorter and a composter that refeeds the dispenser with bone meal at the top. So here's all the bone meal, and there's this hopper clock just here passing a stack of 8 items. Got a clock firing that dispenser. Now when the items passed over this first hopper, I've got an item filter attached. So if I want any of the moss types or anything that the farm produces, I can put it in there and just collect that particular item. Otherwise, the redstone will stop it filtering and every item goes into the composter. When it's in full bone meal mode, it just basically stacks up in these hoppers. It's not the most efficient farm, but I've been running it on and off in about 10 or 15 minute intervals. If you leave it running, it will overwhelm the hoppers at the top, so items will start to despawn and not make it into the system, so you could run it completely dry. There's also another switch over there to turn the water off if any maintenance needs to be done. Occasionally you might get a misfire and cobble comes out instead of stone. This will do pale moss as well, but there are way less items to pass to the composter, so you only really want to do that if you're chasing the items for a build, not for making bone meal. Alright, so here I've set up a bit of a stand where I might add in a few mannequins. Let's have a look out here in the bay. I'm going to build a small harbour area, and the idea is people can visit or stay in the village. They come to use the healing springs, see the mysterious statue, and just simply enjoy the area. There'll be a special shrine at the top of the mountain, as well as some hot springs out there in the Stony Shore area. All around will be cabins or other types of accommodation. One last thing before we get going, I have moved a few of my trading villagers out here. Here is my fisherman guy. I've trapped him in here with this carpet. I've also used command blocks in places to limit where the villager's pathing is. They really seem to like trapdoors. Basically, it just keeps them away from getting up to trouble. Here's my stone cutters all set up, and there are also command blocks keeping them in place and away from areas. I think it's the best solution for keeping them safe and not having to change the build itself. I have had a few incidents. Rightio, time to get my gear and let's go to the Nether. Right, back in the hellhole. I've done a bit of digging out of all the basalt around my fort and set out this flat mossy area. Possibly a huge mistake, but we'll see how we go. I've also prepared the ground for where I'm building today, which is here. This will be where my frog house is going, and it's going to be really difficult because there's just so many magma spawning, plus a few ghasts. I'm also going to build a tree, so hopefully I'll be able to dodge the ghasts so things don't get too wrecked. With that said, Build Blitz mode, activate. have it. It's really hard to build in the Nether. Those ghasts were the biggest worry, but I don't think I'll have any issues with the number of magma spawning here. They may even spawn in the little frog house, but it won't hurt the frogs at all. For frog lights, I can take pot shots from here at the magma and either lead the small ones in or take the frogs out. If I do ever need a lot of frog lights, there is a bastion nearby where I can set up a farm, but for now, this is going to do me. I hope you liked today's episode. Take care out there, and I'll see you again real soon.